The era of renting intelligence from giant server farms is over. For years, we have been tethered to an invisible umbilical cord, paying a monthly tax to corporations that own the massive hardware and the complex minds within it. We were told that high-level reasoning required warehouses of processors and cooling systems the size of city blocks. But today, the architecture of power has shifted. You aren't watching a simple tech update or a routine software release. You are witnessing the precise moment the gatekeepers of artificial intelligence lost their keys. The monopoly on God mode reasoning has been shattered by a project emerging from the laboratories of Google DeepMind. It is called Gemma 4, and it represents a total departure from the status quo. Gemma 4 is not a mere experiment. It is a multimodal, high-reasoning open weights model designed specifically to live where you live, on your local hardware. Whether it is a high-end desktop PC or the flagship smartphone in your pocket, the Superbrain has moved house. By releasing these weights on platforms like Hugging Face and Vertex AI, Google has effectively democratized the kind of intelligence that used to cost $20 a month and a sacrifice of your personal data. The barrier to entry has vanished. We are talking about GPT-4 class logic, now fully portable and entirely sovereign. This is distilled intelligence in its purest form, compressed and optimized to run without a fiber optic connection to a Silicon Valley basement. This leads us to an impossible equation that many experts thought we wouldn't solve for years. How do you fit a PhD-level reasoning engine into a device that fits in your palm? The answer lies in a radical architectural breakthrough in quantization and attention mechanisms. Google DeepMind has figured out how to strip away the digital fat while keeping the synaptic muscle. It is a feat of engineering that turns your phone from a simple terminal into a self-contained thinking machine. But this technical triumph raises a deeper, more unsettling question for the industry. If your smartphone can now think, analyze, and reason as effectively as a massive cloud-based cluster, what happens to the multi-billion-dollar cloud AI industry? Before we continue, subscribe to the channel and tell us in the comments where you are watching from. This shift introduces a new reality of zero marginal cost AI. In the old model, every question you ask ChatGPT or Claude cost the provider electricity and computing power, costs that were eventually passed down to you. But once Gemma 4 is downloaded onto your local disk, every query is free. There is no meter running. There is no subscription to cancel. It represents the transition from AI as a service to AI as a utility that you own outright. Why would a rational user ever pay for a recurring subscription again when the same level of capability is sitting on their own hardware, protected by their own firewalls? This isn't just about saving money. It is about reclaiming your digital autonomy from the centralized giants who have dictated the terms of access for far too long. We must understand that Gemma 4 is the definitive realization of the small language model revolution. It is not a elite version or a toy. It is a serious tool for serious work. There is a critical distinction here between open source and open weights that every user needs to grasp. While the code might be proprietary in its origins, the weights, the actual learned patterns of the AI, are now yours to control. This gives you, the user, the ultimate authority. You aren't just a consumer anymore. You are the administrator of your own private, high-powered intelligence. The era of dependency is being replaced by an era of personal sovereignty, and the implications for privacy, professional development, and daily life are only just beginning to surface. This is the dawn of a new paradigm where the user is no longer the product, but the absolute master of intelligence. The true power of Gemma 4 lies in its fully integrated multimodal capability. Unlike previous iterations requiring separate modules, Gemma 4 perceives the world holistically. It doesn't just read text. It can see through your camera and hear your environment in real time without sending a single byte to a remote server. The model interprets visual cues and audio frequencies as part of a unified worldview. Imagine an AI that can analyze a broken engine or a complex equation through your phone's lens and provide expert reasoning instantly. It is essentially like hiring a team of specialists who live permanently in your pocket. They don't need an internet connection, charge no fees, and never sleep. This leap from text-only processing to sensory integration transforms the technology from a passive chatbot into an active digital companion that understands the physical context of your life. When we look at the raw data, the performance benchmarks for Gemma 4 are startling. In tests against heavyweights like GPT-4o and Llama 3, Gemma 4 holds its own in reasoning tasks with a fraction of the hardware requirements. The key metric here is reasoning per watt. While massive cloud models require immense amounts of electricity, Gemma 4 is optimized for extreme efficiency. consuming less battery power than a standard mobile game. Much of this is due to the evolution of the mixture of experts architecture. Instead of activating its entire network for every query, Gemma 4 utilizes only the specific pathways required for the task. If you ask a linguistic question, the mathematical sectors remain dormant, preserving energy and increasing response speed. To simplify the concept, think of the difference between cloud AI and local AI as the difference between a public library and a book in your hand. Cloud AI requires travel to the source, navigating rules, and waiting for information. Local AI, powered by Gemma 4, means knowledge is already there, ready the moment you open your device. This structural change eliminates latency. In the cloud model, there is a physical delay as data travels through global routing centers. With Gemma 4, response time is measured in milliseconds. This near instantaneous feedback loop makes the technology feel like an extension of your own mind rather than a distant service you are calling upon. However, the most profound shift is found in the privacy paradox. Currently, everything you say to the cloud gatekeepers is recorded and stored on a server you do not control. Every interaction is harvested for consumer profiling. Gemma 4 introduces incognito intelligence. For the first time, your AI assistant can possess a deep understanding of your work without that information ever leaving your local disk. Your data remains a private dialogue between you and the silicon, shielded by your own digital walls. It knows nothing about you that you have not explicitly allowed. This creates a secure environment for sensitive research and private reflection. Yet this total privacy introduces a danger. When a powerful reasoning tool is decentralized on private devices, there is no off switch. There is no central monitoring system to prevent misuse. It is a tool of absolute freedom and responsibility. This transition escalates what individual users can achieve. For developers and professionals, Gemma 4 is a blank slate that can be fine-tuned on personal documents or proprietary data without leaking trade secrets. Students can analyze research papers locally, while medical professionals can cross-reference patient data in total secrecy. We are moving away from generic AI toward personalized local intelligence. This means your instance of Gemma 4 can become an expert on your specific coding style or your company's unique logistics chain. It becomes a specialized tool that evolves with you, reflecting your specific goals. The democratization of this level of customization ensures that high-level AI is no longer reserved for those with the deepest pockets, but is available to anyone with the drive to implement it. The arrival of Gemma 4 doesn't just represent a technical achievement, it signals a fundamental restructuring of the global tech economy. The software as a service model has dominated the landscape for years, forcing users and businesses into a cycle of perpetual rent. This subscription culture relied on the premise that high-level intelligence was simply too heavy to carry locally. Gemma 4 effectively kills that premise. As primary AI tasks move from the cloud to the local processor, the financial floor drops out from under many startups built on simple wrappers for centralized APIs. This is a massive deflationary event for the AI service sector, forcing a pivot towards specialized, high-value labor and professional development that cannot be automated by a local model at the local level. This represents a definitive change in how we perceive digital power and economic independence. This shift ripples outward into the hardware industry, impacting giants like NVIDIA and other semiconductor manufacturers. The arms race is no longer exclusively about building the biggest, hottest server racks in the desert. The new frontier is efficiency. Success is now measured by how much intelligence can be squeezed into a thermal envelope that fits in a pocket or a small laptop. Companies that fail to integrate local AI capabilities into their infrastructure by next year will essentially be paying for digital ghosts, maintaining expensive, lagging cloud connections for tasks that their competitors are performing instantly and for free. The competitive advantage now belongs to those who own their compute rather than those who rent it from a distant provider. However, this transition is not without friction. There is a glaring issue that few in the industry address directly. While decentralized intelligence offers freedom, it also shatters the collective consensus on digital reality. When high-level reasoning is placed in the hands of everyone without central filters, the risk of misinformation scales exponentially. We are entering an era where verifiable digital content becomes nearly impossible to distinguish from sophisticated fabrications. An uncensored local model like Gemma 4 provides a powerful engine for generating hyper-realistic yet entirely false narratives. The ethical dilemma is profound. How does a society maintain a shared truth when every individual possesses a private, expert-level GPT-level ghostwriter capable of mimicking any logic or stylistic tone. Beyond these risks, the escalation toward local execution represents a massive transfer of power. This is the birth of digital sovereignty. Gemma 4 enables high-level research in remote areas without internet access and provides a lifeline of information in regions where connectivity is controlled by the state. This is the concept of permanent intelligence. If a major tech giant like Google DeepMind were to disappear tomorrow, your local copy of Gemma 4 would remain unaffected. It is a tool that functions independently of corporate whims or geopolitical stability, ensuring that your cognitive assets are never subject to the sudden termination of a remote service. This level of autonomy changes the relationship between the citizen and the digital state forever. Looking ahead at the next 6 months, the market will see the emergence of specialized Gemma phones and operating systems that treat local AI as a core system process rather than a secondary app. These devices will manage your schedule and organize your files with a level of context that no cloud provider could ever safely access. Within 2 years, the roles will have stabilized. Cloud AI will be reserved for massive, planetary-scale scientific computations, while local AI will become the primary interface through which we interact with the digital world on a second-by-second basis. Ultimately, Gemma 4 is the bridge between the AI we were historically allowed to use and the AI we finally own. It marks the end of the era where intelligence was a permission-based service controlled by the cloud gatekeepers. We have moved from being guests in a corporate garden to being masters of our own digital domain. The most powerful tool in human history is no longer behind a paywall, it is in your hand and on your desk. Now that the most powerful tool in history is finally in your hands, the central question remains, what are you going to build with it? The future is no longer a centralized vision, but a billion private experiments running in parallel. This is the beginning of the human local AI hybrid lifestyle, and the world is about to look very different. The era of the individual has truly arrived.